Everybody, thank you very much for signing up today on August 26th for our Community Covenant Update. I do hope that you're all safe wherever you are and not overly affected by the ongoing COVID. We obviously wanted to do this meeting in person. It's a little challenging to do it over Zoom, so please bear with us as we go through the program today. We had communicated at the very beginning of the year some impending recommendations and changes to our rules and regulations and our covenants. We subsequently postponed that meeting 2 times due to COVID, and I'm grateful for all of your patience as we waited to be able to get through this. We have sent out the information on multiple occasions, and we'll continue to update it on our website and in the Q&A. Why we are meeting? Our community charter provides a procedure to amend the rules and regulations related to activities in the community. Under that procedure, we are asked to give our owners, which are our residents, a reasonable opportunity to discuss and have a dialogue related to the rules and regulations, amendments and changes. It is not a voting situation, it's just really an opportunity for a two-way dialogue and some great input. The Charter doesn't require us to answer questions, but our intention is to answer every question that we get to the best of our abilities. We have received over 100 questions in advance of today's meeting. I'm not sure if we'll get to all of them. Our intention is to answer as many as we can over this call. Some are multi-layered questions. We will post all of the questions we have received and all of the responses and continue to do that over the coming days on the member website. We did receive a list of formal questions from an attorney representing some of our homeowners. Some of those questions we cannot get to today. We received a list earlier this morning, and we will do our best. But again, we will post all of those questions and all of the responses so everybody sees in the community what has been asked and what our response has been. Some of the questions are related to financial information for our company, the ownership. We will not be answering financial questions. The Board of Trustees oversees our community. Today we are in the founder period. It currently goes until the last developable home site is sold or until the founder chooses to change that and invite members and residents onto the board. The Board of Trustees is traditionally some senior level members of the management team. That is myself, Dallas Wood, Mark Pilates, our CFO, Nate Van Epp, who oversees our DRB and Builders Guidelines. And then they are supported admirably by the Palmetto Bluff Trust team, led by Zach Young, Charles Huggins, Stephanie in our DRB, and a greater team that supports them. The founder period, as I mentioned, runs until the last lot is sold or unless the founder chooses to give up that privilege prior. Traditionally, the Charter are the covenants and restrictions that govern the community. Rules tend to be more black and white. There are things like speeding, certain types of pets in your backyard, loud noises, fireworks, but it does require us to post the amendment to the rules, allow the members to have a discussion, and then announce what changes we'll be doing. Historically, rules have been treated in a very simple manner. There hasn't been a dramatic change in rules. We have amended our community charter 75 times. It is amended every time we bring on new real estate, every time we add a road, every time we add a park, every time we add an amenity. So in the 20 years it's been amended many times. It is not behoven upon us to publish that, but we have chosen to be completely transparent during this process, and we will be addressing that today. We are aware that most of the tweaks to the rules are pretty benign. We don't believe that people are upset about imposing dogs on leashes unless you're a dog owner, or speeding, or loud noises in your backyard when other people are sleeping. But we are also aware that changes to access fees are quite emotional. I'm sure that a lot of our discussion today will be around the short-term rental program. A lot of the questions we've received are around the short-term rental program. The intent about changing and upgrading and improving our short-term rental program is really to stay abreast of changes in state and local regulations. A lot of towns and cities did not have protocols back in 2000 about how to handle short-term rental. It was before Airbnb and VBRO and a lot of that type of stuff. And most traditional home rental were in managed programs run by a company, not individual. So we've continued to monitor state and local regulations. We've engaged with the town of Bluffton, we've engaged with the county of Beaufort. In addition, we've looked at our market comps. We've talked to Sea Island, Daniels, Kiowa, and all of the places in the region and really ask them what to do. The intent is to ensure that we maintain property values, we enhance our community, and take a long-term view on the economic sustainability of this great place. We have encouraged short-term rentals since the inception of Palmetto Bluff. There are currently about 210 lots. I say about, not all of them platted. They are all either in Wilson Village surrounds or Moreland Village. There is no short-term rental outside of those two neighborhoods. Many of our residents discovered Palmetto Bluff by staying in short-term rental. Many of our residents purchased a short-term rental and used it partially for themselves and then evolved into living here full-time. We fully embrace the idea of people enjoying this community through a variety of ways, whether they stay at our hotel, they stay in our lodging program, they stay in your guest house, or they commercially rent your home from you in order to enjoy this great place. So as mentioned, the Board of Stewards is required to provide 30 days business notice. This is part of that process. The owners have a reasonable opportunity to be heard. We are listening. We will be highly transparent no matter what question we get, and we will post that question and its response if we don't get to answer it today. What we'll discuss is the slight revisions to rules, which is Exhibit E1, which has been distributed to our residents. It is quite minor, but we will talk through them. We will understand the supplement to the community charter, which again, we're very aware, this is the piece that's related to short-term rental. We understand most of our conversation today and in the future days will be around that. If you have questions today, please present them through the chat area on your Zoom. We have about 105 people signed up. Please add your name. A couple of our team members are gathering those questions. As I mentioned, we have quite a few. We tried to do this meeting a couple of times, so we've kept all of those questions, and we've quite a few already, but we will try to get through as many as we can today. Some of the questions overlap. So related to revisions of rules exhibit. So the following activities are prohibited in the community unless authorized by and subject to conditions that may be imposed by the Board of Stewards. That is the Board of Trustees who oversee the POA and the PB Trust. Storing moving pods or containers on any outside unit for more than 24 hours. Obviously, it's a reasonable request. If you're moving, you want to load, but we do not want these units standing in the community for more than 24 hours. Storing moving pods or containers on common areas, including not limited to any of the paved road or alley within the community. Even there are many areas of our community that there is an alley behind and the next parcel of land might not be developed yet. That is not a storage place. It has to follow the same process of no more than 24 hours in that area. Persistent parking or storing of boats or watercraft on or outside a unit. A unit here is a home or a home site, or any portion of common areas other than designated areas that we may have availability to provide parking for storage. Except as permitted without the written consent of the founder, no commercial photographs, images, videos taken of the community, included not limited to images of common areas, our amenities, our hotels, our trademark can be used for commercial purposes. Obviously, for your private purposes, we greatly encourage that. There has been 20 years of investment, both emotional and financial, into the brand of Palmetto Bluff. We are highly protective of that, just like any great destination. This does not include the destination. We are Palmetto Bluff. That is our geographical destination, but you cannot use our imagery. Except as committed as well, flying of drones. This is a new item. We have some people that have come into our community that drone flying is now a activity, a recreation, but we do feel that it is invasive to the community, invasive to other areas, and we ask that it's strictly prohibited unless you've got written consent from the founder or the trust. Use of any intellectual property of the founder, any of our mark, that includes our trademarks, our service marks, our trade names, copyrights, proprietary materials, promotional materials, photograph of the Palmetto Bluff or the Montage brand names is strictly prohibited. Again, this is normal business practices for any brand. We want to protect our brand. Obviously, in the right purposes, we will partner with people and allow it to be used. But again, we expect you to ask for permission, and if you don't receive your permission, not to use it. As I mentioned, they're really the tweaks to the rules. Normal evolution of place, evolution of time, things in our world have changed, so we try to keep our rules and regulations up to date. The qualified rental program procedures. where we expect to have most of our conversation. So in addition to the requirements in Chapter 2 of the Charter, which we have shared, we asked for a rental program to qualify and maintain such qualification as QRP. The following rules will apply to that and to that rented dwellings within the community through the program. Prior to the commencement of any rental, the trust and club should be given a reservation form, which we have provided to all of the property owners and property managers, which the rental party fills out with the name and telephone number of the guest. In case of an emergency, we need to contact them, the number of occupants, the time that they'll be on property renting, and any other information that's legally requested by the trust and Palmetto Bluff Club. This may refer to the amount of vehicles they have, where they intend to park, if they're bringing anything outside of a normal vehicle into the community. Again, to protect the greater community and the neighborhoods that these short-term rentals reside in. Each rental guest during a qualified program must sign a form provided by the trust within 24 hours before check-in that they did not rent through the founder-designated program. The founder-designated program is managed and run by our strategic partner, Montage Palmetto Bluff. It is owned by Palmetto Bluff, and they follow all of these policies as well. Acknowledge that we are not renting to them through Montage or Palmetto Bluff Lodging, have no responsibility to provide any type of cleaning, maintenance, or emergency services. Obviously, in the case of a life emergency, 911, our security team will be there, but having a renter calling the hotel or the trust to come and change a light bulb at 2 o'clock in the morning is not the responsibility of the trust or the hotel. It is the responsibility of the professional management company managing that renter. Also acknowledging that we have no condition over the control of the furnishings, linens, or other supplies, and that certain amenities within the community, whether owned by Montage Inn or Palmetto Bluff or the club, may not be available for use, and any other information that we reasonably request be filled in at that time. A qualified rental representative should be responsible to meet each renter at the dwelling when the renter arrives in the period. The person should be able to verify how many people are using the dwelling, provide the renter with the rules and policies, and ensure that which facilities are available to use. An owner of a dwelling rented must provide the trust with an agreement that provides the owner should adhere to the provisions of the charter and the rules related to the qualified rental program, and the owner should be responsible to pay for any unpaid fees to the trust or the club for use by the renter, and the cost of repair for damage caused by the renter within the community, and the failure to pay such fees and repair costs could be added to the owner's trust assessment or Palmetto Bluff Club dues. This same burden is on our hotel guests and our hotel renters. We will do anything we have to do to pursue damages should somebody renting or enjoying our community do damage to the greater community. The qualified rental program should not utilize any intellectual property of Palmetto Bluff, Montage Inn of Palmetto Bluff, or other Palmetto Bluff entities, including photographs of Palmetto Bluff. Obviously, home photographs are used in all promotions, and we greatly support that. Again, you would have to get express written permission of the trust. Upon payment of established guest fees, the club shall allow access to certain amenities owned or managed by the club. The club shall have the right at any time to modify the list of amenities, providing a qualified rental company with an updated listing. If a renter decides to use the amenity owned and managed by the club, they must check at the club office, which is now in the Trail House in Moreland. The renter will provide a credit card for the payment of guest fees. They will receive a member card for the duration of their stay, which will allow access to the amenities they can use. And they can also provide the names of any other persons that may utilize the designated amenities. The club will require proof of identification of any person prior to accessing or while utilizing any club amenities. The founder has established a classification of a rental program for owners of dwellings in areas that are renting dwellings for less than 6 months in duration, and provided that such owners choose not to utilize a founder-designated rental program. To participate as a qualified rental program, a business entity must be formed in the state of Carolina or has been granted to transact business in the state of Carolina and maintain that status during participation in the program. A business entity must maintain all South Carolina, Beaufort County, and Town of Bluffton licenses and maintain such licenses during participation. A business entity must be concurrent in the payment of all applicable state, local, and federal taxes and maintain such current tax during the participation. Two things in life, death and taxes. We pay them, everybody else has to pay them. To participate in a qualified rental program, a business entity must maintain an office within Beaufort County, South Carolina. If the rental program is operated in the dwelling, the program's activities must adhere to the restrictions of section 11.1. A business entity must have an employee or an owner that maintains all licenses that may be required by South Carolina Real Estate Commission, which oversees the rental of short-term in South Carolina. A business entity must provide pediatric housekeeping services and arrange for plumbing, electrical, appliance, and emergency repairs at all time. The business entity must have a dedicated phone line operational 24/7 that's provided to each rental guest to report any necessary repairs or emergencies. Qualified rental program must ensure that the rental guests are aware of the covenants and restrictions contained within the charter and the rules of Palmetto Bluff. Qualifications to participate as a qualified rental program. The business entity or owner must maintain at all times liability insurance covering the dwelling and other such insurance that may be reasonably required by the trust or may be required by law. The insurance policy must include liability coverage within the limits of not less than $1 million. We had flood insurance, but we discovered from the state of Carolina that it's not necessary to carry that, so it has been removed. The business entity or owner should require repair workers and vendors that perform work on rental dwellings to maintain liability insurance in the same amounts and should be required to provide evidence of such insurance upon request of the trust. This policy is also adhered to when people are getting work done on their homes or home builders are building within Palmetto Bluff. It is consistent with our other policies. Procedures for access to and from the community, check-in at the rental dwelling, and access to certain amenities are set forth in the rules established by the board and may be amended from time to time. So, we have a number of questions. We have a question from Nick Gregorius, who asked, why can't guests choose to opt in and opt out for only certain days during their trip? An interesting point that just triggered, prior to this amendment to the CC&Rs, all guests had to opt in. There was no option to opt out. We have now made that change. If the guest chooses not to enjoy the additional amenities, they don't have to sign up for them. We've looked at this. We believe it would be extremely difficult. If a guest checks in after not opting in and subsequently during their stay wishes to opt in, we will be able to accommodate that. But we don't believe that we have the ability to allow people to change each day, excuse the frivolity of this answer. But if they wake up in the morning and it's raining and they choose they don't want to use the pool, we don't believe that that's reasonable for us to be able to manage day to day. Have you taken into account the potential negative effects these new policies will have on real estate values? Nick Gregorius. We actually have. We've found in many communities that have formal recognized policies, real estate values actually go up. Most residents are in support of having programs that are consistent, fair, well managed. And the great thing about our program is most, if not all of our current homeowners that operate short-term rental already follow most, if not all of these policies. Another question from Nick Gregorius is, what additional amenities will be provided with the drastic increase in resort fees? At this time, there is no additional amenities considered to be provided. A question from Nick Gregorius is, would it not make sense to base the cost upon adults, 18 plus per household? It's a very interesting question. It's a good suggestion. Again, we're going to take everything into consideration before we make a final review. Another question from Nick Gregorius. How do you justify increasing the daily resort fee by 3.5 to 6x on rentals from $65 to $225 in such a short period of time? As I mentioned, this is something we studied for a long time in 2019. We wanted to introduce this in 2020. We don't believe that this is a dramatic increase based upon the value of homes and value of amenities here, and we wish that this becomes an economic sustainable place. A question from Lynn Ann Casey. Photos, may I take photos of my own home? Certainly, of course you can. You use marketing materials of your home to promote and market your home. Absolutely. Dave Mingy asked, posted changes around use of IP. Will they apply to other commercial entities, real estate firms, or other professionals? Absolutely. We frequently have to address other businesses and ask them to cease and desist using our IP, our trade, our mark, our pictures. We do obviously have strategic partnerships with outside Palmetto Bluff, Paris Market, Montage Palmetto Bluff. So we will be making sure that unless you have written permission, you will be asked to not use those. Would the Board of Stewards consider changing the 24 hours to 48 hours, since it's often hard to get movers at specific days waiver, moving truck parking? We will take that into consideration. We need to determine, is that really a true issue? Is it based upon time of year, occupancy? But yes, anything that is reasonable, we will do. It is more really putting a parameter around it that we can enforce, because unfortunately, sometimes people leave it outside the home for a long time. Rental program. Leanne Casey, why do we need to have an office in Beaufort County? Will you consider? Many people use their home as an office. So you have a home office, that's perfectly acceptable. It just has to be a registered office. Per our guidelines, you can't actually have daily activity. People can't be coming to your office, but there needs to be an office registered in Beaufort County. Rental. Why is there no mention of a property safety fire inspection for a property to be a short-term rental program? Sabrina Lee Jones. Appreciate that question. That is upon the owner. It's the same that, to be candid, all rentals are supposed to be ADA compliant. That is enforced by state and local and the town of Bluffton, and fire safety inspection will be done at time of closing of the home, and is the home operated as a commercial after, that's upon the town. It is not behooving upon the community to manage fire and safety regulations. Rental, Arlene Flick asked, what is the fee per guest? The current proposed change is to do a fee per bedroom. Obviously, people have suggested no fee. People have suggested significant increases in fees. Obviously, they're the people that are not in short-term rental program. People have suggested no access to amenities. People have suggested charging per person, charging per dog, per child. We're taking all of those suggestions. We truly will consider them all. We want to make sure that this is a great process for the long-term place at Palmetto Bluff. As I mentioned, we did receive formal questions through an attorney who is representing some of our short-term rental people. The questions are very well written, and we anticipate addressing and answering all of them completely. However, we got them already this morning, and some of them require legal response, so I'm not able to answer them all right now, but I will move through them, and as I mentioned, we will post these on the website with our responses. So one of the first questions from this group was, what are the specific issues or problems that have prompted the board to propose these amendments of the charter and rules for qualified rental programs? As I mentioned, we've been reviewing this for many years. Many communities have evolved and changed. State regulations and local regulations have evolved and changed. In addition, we have received frequent calls at nighttime, in the middle of the night, for maintenance from Montage, frequent calls to housekeeping in Montage. Unfortunately, we've had Montage associates treated quite disrespectfully by people when they were told, I can't actually service your house, it's not part. Negative comments on TripAdvisor when people stayed in a rental home but they thought they were staying in a Montage. Complaints from other residents that live in and around short-term rental, people urinating in their front yard, people dropping beer bottles in their front yard, people parking vehicles in front of their garages so they can't access their car first thing in the morning. A significant amount of those. We also have difficulty with guests in the hotel, and we deal with them. So it's not one single issue. It's a variety of things, as I mentioned. Second question from this group was, will the proposed amendments governing qualified rental programs apply to owners of properties in the designated rental program, which is the one managed by Palmetto Bluff Lodging, who participate in the founder program? Yes, they will, if applicable. When I say that, the Palmetto Bluff Lodging program, which oversees the short-term rental program for the developer, already have a property manager on site, carry all of the licenses, so not everything is applicable. The third question is, what is the justification in the reduction of the daily resort fee if a rental program in the qualified rental program enrolls in the founder designated program, even though there is no difference in the rental costs under each program? I think the background to this question is, in the short-term rental program that is not managed by the company, there is a rental fee that may be per bedroom, maybe per person, yet to be determined. Whereas in the rental program that is managed by the company, there is a rental fee, an access fee per home. In addition, we received a revenue from renting that home after we refund the homeowner. So the company receives all of that income, and it goes towards all of the needs that we do here, maintaining this great place, providing capital improvements, and growing the programming at Palmetto Bluff. As I mentioned, some of the questions I can't get to today. They require a little bit of thought behind the answers. They obviously are very well thought out questions, so we want to make sure we give very well thought out answers. One of the questions was, how does a rental guest using a property in the qualified rental program supposedly impose a greater burden on the available amenities than a long-term tenant or a family guest of an owner who used the same facilities? We have never stated that. However, we have stated that the amenities are for the use and enjoyment of our members and their vertical family members. They are not for commercial gain. And if you have the opportunity to rent your home, your renters should be paying additional fee to use amenities owned and operated and maintained by the company. Question was, how many properties are currently within the founder designated rental program? How many of those are either owned by the founder or Montage? How many are owned by independent third persons? Is the founder or Montage considering construction more housing units to add to its rental program in the next few years? So we have 34 homes in the founder rental program today. None are owned by the company, none are owned by Montage. They're all owned by independent residents, your neighbors, your friends, your community members, and they've chosen to place them into our company and allow us to manage them on their behalf. We do have about 215 platted lots within Wilson and Moreland that can be in the short-term rental basis. Most of those are being sold what we would consider retail, and then a homeowner will build a home and they may live in it, they may rent it. The only additional plan that we have today to add potential home sites would be in the Montage Signature Residences. It was originally designed to have 35. We have built 13. At this time, we are not commencing any new. We will revisit that program in late 21, but we have no other intentions of adding short-term rental areas in Wilson or in Moreland at this time. Next question is, what is the daily usage fee charged for rental properties within the founder designated rental program? As I mentioned, it is $60 per night per home currently. And then our founder designated rental owners paying the daily usage fees per rental night directly to the club. If not, are there fees shared between the club and Montage? Again, Palmetto Bluff Company owns all of the entities within Palmetto Bluff outside of Paris Market and outside Palmetto Bluff. We do own the buildings that they reside in, and we have a lease with them. So all of the revenues that come in, whether it's a club revenue, a rental revenue, or a hotel revenue, goes to the company. The daily resort fees currently are sent straight to the club line, and they are used for club operations, club usage, and general improvements. Did the board consider changing the daily fee per rental night may force owners to book larger parties rather than smaller ones? This may happen. That would be a decision by a property owner. We have not heard from neighboring communities or communities that have this type of practices that has happened. The fee is not intended to influence how many people go into a home or do not go into a home. Did the board consider the probable effect of changing the resort fee to $75 per bedroom per rental on the overall cost per rental night for rental guests of owners partaking in the qualified rental program, and how those nightly rates, inclusive of fees, would compare to rental programs in the founder designated rental program? We did, and right now the fees rates that are achieved by the homes rented through our program frequently exceed 50 to 75% of the rates in the short-term rental program. So we did take that under consideration. We believe it has no bearing on the final decision. We believe, in fact, as we've seen during this COVID period, where we've imposed a self-cap of not selling more than 50% in the hotel, our rates are dramatically higher than last year. People want to be at Palmetto Bluff. People truly love everything at Palmetto Bluff. People see great value at Palmetto Bluff, and we don't believe that this slight change in rates will change any of those choices. How much of the daily resort fee collected for guests under the founder designated rental program goes to or will go to cover the costs of operating this program? All of those fees, as I mentioned, go to Palmetto Bluff Club LLC, which is an entity of Palmetto Bluff LLC. I am skipping questions, as I mentioned. I apologize if people think that I'm being disingenuous, but we want to make sure that we give really sound, good answers to those questions. In considering the revenues necessary to cover the costs described in the FAQ, did the board take into account the dues and fees that members owning rental properties in the qualified rental program are already paying going towards those costs? No, those dues and fees that members, your neighbors, your friends pay are for your and your vertical family's usage of our great place. If you have the opportunity, which we fully endorse, to run a commercial business in a short-term rental, those additional fees are for the privileges of those people accessing those amenities that are available to them. It is not connected to the dues and fees that the general membership pay. Do the proposed amendments require that a property in the qualified rental program must be owned by a legal entity instead of an individual? And if so, what is the reason for that? No, they do not. So there is no necessity that they need to be a legal entity. And the next question was, if the proposed amendments require all properties within the rental program be owned by entities, what is the reason for not imposing this on the founder? Again, this is not a requirement, so the question is no. Will Montage and the founder be allowed to use Palmetto Bluff and photographs and images of the community in marketing and promoting rentals of properties in the founder rental program, including those owned by third-person owners? If so, what is the reason for using the name and the photographs and the images of the rentals, but prohibiting their use by rental owners in the qualified rental program? Again, as I stated, the huge investment that we have made over 20 years in the brand is because we are very proud of the brand, and we own it. And it's just like if you're Apple or if you're Nike, you don't let somebody else use it. So that will not happen, and will be used to promote Montage, be used to promote Palmetto Bluff, it'll be used to promote Field and Fire, be used to promote Music to Your Mouth, but it will not be used for individual commercial purposes. Excuse me. What is the particular problem or issue that is the basis for requiring that rental properties within the qualified rental program must be managed by a property manager licensed by the South Carolina Real Estate Commission? There isn't a problem or an issue. It is actually required by state guidelines if you are managing multiple properties. If you are self-managing your own home, it is not required. But if you're managing multiple properties, it is required. We do understand that this may be a burden for some people. I don't believe the next class is within the 30 or 40-day window. We are happy to give people a grandfather opportunity once they get into the next class and qualify for that. And we will work with anybody that needs that additional time. In fact, we'd even be happy to have the state people come on site and hold a class here at Palmetto Bluff, social distancing practiced, and help everybody get through that process. What are the reasons for the board's imposing property insurance requirements only on rental owners in the qualified rental program and not on owners partaking in the founder designated rental program and the property owners of Palmetto Bluff? All owners in the founder designated rental program are required to carry these same property insurances. There's no change. There's no, sorry, lost my train of thought there. It is applicable to everybody. Will rental guests in properties within the founder designated rental program be required to obtain photo IDs upon check-in? If not, what's the board basis distinguishing between rental guests and founders in designated rental program and rental guests in a qualified rental program? When you check into our hotel or you check into one of our lodging complex, we have your reservation in advance, we have your information, we have a credit card on file. In a lot of cases, depending where you're parking, we have a driver's license so we know which vehicle is yours. So we have all of that information in advance. We keep it on file, and this is just asking the same thing of the short-term rental program. Will the member website be used to advertise rentals in the founder designated rental program? If so, what is the board's basis for permitting such advertising on the member website, but not allowing advertising of rentals in the qualified rental program? No, a separate website exists for this purpose. It is our montagepalmettobluff.com, and that promotes and allows you to book rentals. It does not sit on the member website, nor will it ever. What is the reason that Montage, supposedly due to COVID, currently requires qualified rental program properties to book a minimum of 4 nights or more, while properties in the founder designated rental program are allowed to book minimum stays of 2 nights? That is not true. There is no current restrictions. Early on, we asked for restrictions to protect this great community. And as I mentioned, we continue to operate our hotel at 50%. So we have 100 rooms that we will not sell to make sure that we are bringing less traffic into this great place. Wouldn't the community and board be better served economically by working with the property managers and individual property owners who operate independent short-term rentals than creating division in the community and imposing unreasonable costs and regulations on these owners and their rental guests? We hope this process is working in tandem with all of our property owners and managers. We also have to think of the other 800 or 900 residents that are not in the short-term rental program. We can argue and debate all day long whether or not the costs are unreasonable, but things like regulations and taxes are not being pushed by us. That is state and local regulations. We pay all of our taxes. We are very proud to be a part of Bluffton. We are proud to support the school district here, and we would like that you two, you do the same. Any more questions? As I mentioned, there was 37 questions submitted by this small group through an attorney. We will do our very best to answer all of them as completely as we can and as transparently as we can. Again, we will not disclose financial information. We don't believe that's appropriate. We look forward to continuing the conversation. We would like to take a pause and allow 7 business days. We chose 7 because today is Wednesday, so 2 days this week, 5 days next week. If you have any other questions or comments or input, please send them to MPD Tidings, pick up the phone, call myself, call Dallas, call Gray. We'd be happy to answer any questions. We will continue to update and post all of the dialogue and all of the responses, and then we will close the commentary period on Monday, May 7th. The board will gather the week of September 14th, and we will consider all of the options we have, and then we will respond duly with communication the week of September 14th. We do have a property owner update scheduled for Monday, September 14th. In order to be really inclusive of everybody's input and feedback, we won't have the decision that evening. We will have it after that. So we want to make sure that we get to listen to everybody. Again, thank you for all of your time and your support of Palmetto Bluff. I wish you a great evening. Be safe.